What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows. This month, Star Wars month. And what better way to kick off Star Wars month than it being May the 4th when this drops, episode 319. Lauren and I are Galaxy's Edge, but we have a bit of an expert with us today on Galaxy's Edge, on Star Wars. Our friend Ethan Sachs is going to be joining us. He kind of knows a little thing or two about Star Wars. So make sure to subscribe and follow us anywhere you find your podcast, social media. I'm out there goofing around. But most importantly, my beer this week, as always, is a brain radio from Sideword. It's not as always. I just did it because it's Orlando themed. This is the last Sideword I have before I go and visit Lauren for May the 4th. So Lauren, real quick, what beer do you have?
I actually don't have a Sideword, believe it or not. I almost went to grab Sideword, but I was in Fort Lauderdale a couple weeks ago, so I had to stop at Invasive Species, and I got Rocket Man Hazy IPA because, you can take a rocket to space kind of thing. So I
didn't have
almost did
Star Wars
grab it,
theme this year. I didn't have Star Wars.
But I do have a nice Stormtrooper glass because there's lots of Stormtroopers walking around Galaxy's Edge. Sometimes they wonder, and there's a cantina. If you have a lightsaber that is not red, they will ask you more questions than you're comfortable with, and they're really looking to root out the resistance. So be careful, kids.
I was going to say Rudolph for a second, and that would have been just hilarious. I don't know why. Our guest here,
December.
Ethan, we've run into him at a couple conventions now. He's big in the Star Wars world. So Ethan, thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us to talk about some Star Wars lore.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm jealous. I'm not drinking today. I drank like 5 days in a row, so today I took off. And now I'm
There's always time for a reprieve. I fully get that one.
2-day reprieve, and then I'm back on it on Saturday. So but anyway, I'm an IPA person, so
the man's got taste.
So sorry, what was the question?
We'd always love to start with welcome
you.
I mean, you answered it perfectly. IPA guy, you're our kind of person, but we'd love to talk about everybody's got an origin story in the world of comic books, superheroes and things. But since we're kind of talking about Star Wars, we were talking before the show. We heard at MegaCon your start was kind of in obituaries for a while, and now you're into comics. So what is your Star Wars origin story? How did you get into the world of comics as well?
All right, so it all appropriately enough involves Star Wars. So my first, I'm old enough that I saw the original in the theater as a 4-year-old, and it is my strongest memory from that young period of time in my life. And my father passed away in 1995, and that memory as a 4-year-old in 1977 is so strong. Like, I can close my eyes, I can hear his voice, I can see him in the movie theater next to me when that Star Destroyer goes over my head and the music blares, and
that's special, man.
Yeah.
And I turned and I saw him smiling at me, and because he had seen it before, it brought me, and it was a shared moment. So it was so to this day, that was kind of my first or most intense pop culture North Star, I guess. And probably had something to do with me wanting to be a writer. And my parents were very supportive. So the one thing they said is you want to find a way to make a living at it, And so I went into journalism because that seemed like a way to do it, and I loved it. I was working at the New York Daily News for many years, and among other things, I covered what they called the Geek Beat, largely because no one else wanted to cover it. So
before it was cool, of course.
Yeah, and I remember one of my first cover stories for the Daily News entertainment section was the two young guns saving Marvel from bankruptcy, and it was Joe Quesada and Bill Jemas. So that's how long ago it was. You're talking 25 years ago.
A couple of young guns.
Crazy.
One of them was just the editor-in-chief of Marvel for a little bit. No big deal.
And then another one was when Stan Lee went over to DC and did the Just Imagine series where he reimagined. So I got to interview him, but the Joe Quesada thing comes back because over the years I was friends with him. I mean, first he was a source and he was someone I interviewed, and we became friends over time. And then fast forward to 2016, so I'm still at the Daily. I'm actually the movie editor at this point, and I interviewed. I made a big deal out of May the 4th. Every year I would do a story. No one else at the paper cared. But they, so for this one, I interviewed this actor, Paul Blake, who played Greedo. And we were he was just so funny talking about I love the shirt, by the way, talking about who shot first. And, he was like, oh, Greedo is myopic with those eyes, and he should have been a flower ranger, not a bounty hunter. But it did say in the script, it says Han shoots alien. And so I was thinking this whole time, it just came to me, like, I thought it'd be funny, murder investigation, Greedo, but do it like Rashomon. And so for the listeners out there who don't know what Rashomon is, based on a novel, it's a classic Japanese movie by this director Kurosawa, who also was a big influence on George Lucas. But this particular story was about a murder in feudal Japan, where all four, like, their witnesses, including the ghosts of the victim, tell vastly different stories. So it's really a matter of like, who do you trust kind of thing. And so I thought it'd be funny to do it where it's an obvious like tip of the hat to Rashomon, but do the murder investigation. So I could not get it out of my head. I go to a Mets game. Joe Quesada is a big Mets fan. I go to a Mets game with him. I'm like, Joe, I cannot get this idea out of my head. Would you be cool if I did a spec script? And on the off chance Marvel published it, because I'm a reporter, be transparent about it, donate the money to charity, whatever. I'm sure that you're not going to publish it anyway, so it's not an ethical problem anyway. But I just want to get it on paper because I can't stop thinking.
Well, yeah, that's the way to do it.
Get it out.
It's just there and there until you put it down.
I never even thought about writing a comic, but I knew like there was no other way it could get out on paper. They were not going to make a movie about the murder investigation of Greedo. So
you never know these days.
That's true. So he goes, sure, whatever. Like he's not enthusiastic at all. So I ended up like, I'd read a million comic book scripts as part of my, various things that I covered. And I also had connections at Lucasfilm from the movie publicity side. So they actually put me on the phone with, or it put me into email contact with Pablo Hidalgo Story Group, who's kind of like the Jedi Master, Story Group, which is like a Jedi council. And they just know the lore and everything. So it was like, what could I and couldn't do? Could I do or not do? And I end up writing this story. I send it to Joe, and I don't hear anything for weeks. So I think, okay, well, I got it out of my system. So I did it. And then my wife is Japanese, and my wife, daughter, and I, we go to Japan to visit the in-laws, land in New York on September 7th, 2006. And I turn my phone back on, and I get the email that changes my life. And subject line is F Greedo, right? So I think, wow, he really hated. But the gist of it was, never mind Greedo, F Greedo, you can actually write. And this is like I love this script. So Marvel tried to publish it. Lucasfilm ended up not wanting to do it. I think they just didn't want to make fun of the whole thing,
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't really heard why, but it was enough to get Marvel to notice me. And then Axel Alonso, who was editor-in-chief at the time, like reached out and was like, hey, what would you like to do, kind of thing. Like, what are some ideas you might have? And all my ideas were not like appropriate, I guess. I don't know. But it just started, like, there was an editor there, Mark Basso, who was he was putting together a series, Old Man Hawkeye, which was a prequel to Old Man Logan, which was the inspiration behind the movie Logan. So he basically, there were like 3 or 4 writers vying for the same thing, and had to put together like this in-depth pitch, and that was my way in. And at the same time, they were offering buyouts at the newspaper I'd worked at for 20 years, so I got like 7 months pay to try something new. So yeah, so
that's
that
the best
was
case
my way in. So Star Wars was my way into comics. Even though it was a few years later before I got in with the Star Wars office, and Mark Benicia and Thomas Groneman at the time were running it. And so, it was a few years later. And my first real thing for Star Wars, except for a 10-page Mace Windu story, was Galaxy's Edge.
That's the big thing we're here to talk about. So Lauren,
I'm
going to throw this one to you because I know you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I know my audience.
Yes. So yeah, we're definitely going to be asking more questions, including some of your comics with Galaxy's Edge and Doc Onders and everything. But yes, we're here to talk Galaxy's Edge. So almost there's 2 Galaxy's Edges. Obviously, we have one in Anaheim, California, one here in Orlando, Florida. They both opened in 2019, just a couple months apart, and they are over 14 acres. So this is wow. If you haven't been, it's a decent amount. So for those who have never been, there are 2 rides, Rise of the Resistance and Smuggler's Run. You can also visit Oga's Cantina, walk around Black Spire Outpost, head to the Droid Depot, stop at Doc Onder's Den of Antiquities, and so much more. So let's talk when and where Galaxy's Edge actually is.
I got to know you guys. Have you? I know Lauren has. Ethan, have you done both Rise of Resistance and Smuggler's Run?
Yes.
All right. Which one is
Multiple.
better? Which one for you is the better one?
I mean, I don't know if there's a controversy in it. I mean, Rise of Resistance is
Hands down the
probably,
best.
yeah, like that or Flight of Passage are like my two favorite rides anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
He hasn't
Avatar
done
ride.
Flight of Passage. Yeah, that's an
I haven't
Animal
done that.
Kingdom.
Yeah.
I've been telling Lauren we need to go to Animal Kingdom. I've been there once 10 years ago. My wife is pregnant. So
Oh,
like,
it's worth doing.
Yes.
Uh,
I think my thing with Rise versus Flight of Passage is like Flight of Passage is more fun to repeatedly ride, whereas Rise, you'll never have that very first experience again. And that first experience is so special.
well, Lauren, you were there for my first
That's
experience. It
fair.
was the best thing ever because the ride broke down and my daughter was like 3 years old at the time. So we're all brought back.
Oh no,
out
you were in
of the-
California when that
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, that was it,
Yeah.
California? Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I thought we were with you for some reason. Anyways, my daughter was young, like COVID and everything was a thing. We get into the prison, the ride breaks down. They take us all back out. We're just standing awkwardly out there in the hallway as the people dressed the Empire were walking around at First Order. And my daughter, just everyone's dead quiet, and she goes, "Are they gonna kill us?" And it made like everybody break character. It was the most hilarious thing ever because she's just like, "We're gonna die." Obviously it wasn't the case, but we ended up getting to ride it twice. But
That's how good they are at making you feel like you're like, as an adult, I felt like I was on a movie set. I've never been on a movie set, but it felt like I was on one. But one of my friends, her niece, the nephew, they like took, you fly to the other little transport or whatever. And he goes, "I want to go back to Earth." So it's very believable for the little ones. But you mixed up the Empire and the First Order. So let's talk about that because it's very specific as to when and where it is. So when you enter Galaxy's Edge, you're on the planet Batuu. Batuu is a remote planet in the Outer Rim territories located on the edge of unknown regions / wild space in the Star Wars galaxy. So due to there being 3 suns, not 1, not 2, but 3 suns, the greeting is bright suns.
Yes.
We don't talk about LeBron here. We're Miami Heat fans.
Not 1, not 2, not 3.
He got 2, and then he had to go to Cleveland.
He got 2.
He left us and went back to his ex-girlfriend. Ugh, he's a great person. Tough. I just basketball hate him. Okay. So Bright Suns, you'll hear the cast members say that, and a lot of people will greet each other like that in Galaxy's Edge. So the theming takes place between episodes 8, The Last Jedi, and episode 9. That Last Jedi is Matt's favorite movie. That's actually a fun fact there. And episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. Kylo Ren is on Batuu, actively looking to squash the resistance that is rumored to be there. However, this is not the earliest that Batuu has been mentioned in the Star Wars galaxy. In Solo, the character L337 mentions Blackspire Outpost as a point of reference for distance while on the planet Vandor. Also in Thrawn Alliances, we see Anakin and Thrawn are on Batuu more than once. They even come back when he's Vader, which was a super fun fact for me who had gotten the trilogy and had no clue they were on Batuu, and I got more excited than I probably should have. Also, we have a lot of comic books that take place on Batuu as well, and we're in true Star Wars fashion, though. There's no set chronological order. They will make stories all over the place and fill in the gaps, and that's probably why it's so timeless, because it's just all over the place. I always have to remind myself where I'm reading. Okay, so let's actually, though, what we're going to kick off with, though, is the novel Black Spire by Delia S. Dawson. And y'all can jump in at any time because I have a lot of fun facts. And Matt, you have these notes too. So if you want to go, so I'm not just endlessly talking.
No, I'm fascinated. I'm just here for the ride because I haven't read this one, but we haven't met the character.
I just finished this book. It was, it was really good.
And okay, Ethan, you've read this book.
It's sort of a continuation. Yeah. I read it. And it's also a continuation of Phasma. Which was, yes.
So good.
It's sort of a sequel. It's sort of, or definitely a pairing, because there's I don't want to know what I shouldn't spoil, but there's a character that...
I haven't read this one yet. It's one of the few books I haven't
I'm not going to mention the one character because he was phenomenal in this book. Okay. So, yes, it's a sequel to Captain Phasma. And while that novel does tell a lot about Captain Phasma, the main story is about 2 characters, and one of them is V. Marati, who is, if you see somebody wandering around and you haven't read this book in Galaxy's Edge, that's her.
We did talk to her.
Take a picture with her. She's very in character. She's a lot of fun. She doesn't stop looking around because she's hiding. So Black Spire picks up right after the cast. I mean, they even catch you up if you're going to read both, read Captain Phasma first, because they do spoil Captain Phasma at the beginning of Black Spire. So if you're going to read them in that order. And I'm not going to spoil those. So while Bright Suns is what people say instead of hello, their goodbye is may the spire keep you. So we're coming off episode 7, where in this book, where how do you say it? Hosnian cataclysm?
Hosnian cataclysm. Yes.
So that
Good job.
recently happened, and people are still recovering emotionally from it. They're not handling it well. The First Order blew up an entire planet. So Leia sent V to Batu to set up a rebel base. So that's basically the premise of this book. She tells her that Archex is going with her, who we meet in Captain Phasma. And it is the year 34 ABY. So they crash land on Batu, and they have to figure stuff out because despite the incredibly nice people there, Olga has stolen, her goons have stolen all her stuff. And you know who Olga is, right?
Canteen is so nice.
Yes. Yes. So she ends up getting a job from Savi, who has that's where you get your lightsabers made.
The lightsabers are great.
But he actually owns a scrapyard in this. So she gets what she needs. She recruits some locals, and they go on their mission and whatnot. So obviously, eventually, without ruining the book, you know that Kylo Ren does end up on Batu. So I'm not going to say how her mission went and everything. But her presence did essentially attract Kylo Ren. And that's where we are in Galaxy's Edge. And so this is why when you go to Orlando, you can only see Rey, V, Mando, Grogu. They're keeping within the theme of the time. Why we can't get General Organa or, something like that. Like, you could have the older characters in the parks and it would still be in theme. But in California, apparently they don't care about the theming, or they just hate us here in Florida. I'm not sure which. But you can see other characters like Hera Syndulla, Chopper. You can see even young Han Solo, although Han Solo has been on Batu. Yes, he's new in California, but he has
as
been
of
on
yesterday. As of yesterday.
So not fair.
That change happened yesterday. Well, it's almost assuredly going to be happening in Orlando soon. The same way that when they opened Galaxy's Edge, there was a little bit of a.
It is interesting how a lot happens first in California and then everything kind of comes next. Have you been to both of the parks, Ethan?
I have a little insight too on the change.
Okay.
Which is, this is what I can talk about. So
I was going to say, whatever you can actually tell us. So
besides the 5-issue Galaxy's Edge miniseries that I did with Will Sliney and Rochelle Rosenberg, we also did a Halcyon Legacy, which was kind of tied into the currently defunct hotel experience, like being aboard the ship. And now, just as of last week, the first issue of Echoes of the Empire, Galaxy's Edge Echoes of the Empire, came out. I'm doing that with Rochelle again on colors, and Roy Marcano and Jeff Morales. Yeah, so like 2 artists. So basically, that's telling the story of why the change. Like, we're moving back in time, I guess. So so there's basically the purpose of that series was to tell the new status quo, I guess. Of
how did you get picked up for Galaxy's Edge for the 5-issue miniseries? How did that come about?
I because I was so new to comics at that time, I had like one sort of hit under my belt with Old Man Hawkeye, and I'd done like a couple of like one-shots and stuff like that. But I don't know. I guess the assistant editor at the time for Star Wars, Tom, like, I had worked with him on a Silver Surfer annual that was like just a really great experience for us, like working together. So he brought me into Star Wars, and then there was this opening on this. And I think at that time, maybe, I'm not speaking for any other writers, but it's possible, like, there was this thing like, oh, you're going to do a tie-in to an amusement park? Like, that's not art.
They kind of look down on that, but to me, that sounds awesome.
Right.
Well, but, maybe it felt more commercial and less
100%.
Do it. I can't speak for anyone else, but I think that was maybe a perception at the time. But for me, it was like, God, this is a place that's going to, it's
you
going
get to build the lore for like one of the biggest theme parks in the world.
Yeah, but also just the idea of the theme park excited me. You know what I mean? Like, to go and visit a place that is the manifestation of your imagination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you're there. You're leaving planet Earth. For the galaxy where Star Wars. And that. So I was excited. Like, but it was hard, especially for Will Sliney, the artist, because the big difference with that one and the ones we did after, certainly the one that I'm doing now, is that Galaxy's Edge didn't exist at the time when we're working on it. Like, they're building it. It's literally under construction.
Oh, so you just had like art concepts to like build off of.
So we had to do a little bit of like an online crash course in NDA and IP protection and like all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And it was the weirdest thing because the animation is like South Park. It's like that sort of like weird animation. But so it's ingrained in my head what I could and couldn't do. But then we got access to this 168-page creative Bible. That was the most amazing thing. Like you get a little bit of it in that Art of Batu book, or the Art of Galaxy's Edge book. So some of that is in there, but like the concept art and the character bios and maps, it was so cool. So I remember, like if you open the first issue, there's, in comics you have page turns, which are almost like jump scares in horror movies, where like you can have something sort of cool because when they turn the page, they see something for the first time.
Yeah.
So like for page 2 and 3 of the first issue, I was like, we're going to have this aerial view of all of Batu. Now, keep in mind, it hadn't been fully built yet. So the artist was like swearing at me in his Irish accent. And he was like, someone is going to be walking with the book. And
they're going to think like, I need to
see
see every aspect of this. Yeah.
But it's like, if I make a mistake, they're
going to call you out. Yeah.
It's not pressure, it's not like, oh, we're just making up.
Well, Star Wars fans have always been pretty calm, cool, and collected, of course. So.
Yes, exactly. And so sure enough, he had to like revise it a few times as they were constructing, and a couple things changed. He has forgiven me, I think, by now. But it looked cool because it came out before the park actually opened. So it was like the first time many people could see it. So I stand by my decision, even if the artist is like sworn a blood oath, hunt me down.
He's got like that whole thing where he's just got this whole Ethan Sachs and he's cursed your entire bloodline, everything.
Is it like Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison?
Yeah, I'm glad I called that guy.
Yeah. I think it's huge.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say my mind went to 7, like when they opened the apartment and there's all that. So, but yeah, he's not. Yeah, awesome.
I think it's a huge miss, though, that Disney doesn't sell all these comics and novels in the parks. Like, even if they want to keep it out of Galaxy's Edge and keep it the theme.
Yeah, they did for the first one. I'm not sure about this one. They sold it in Orlando, in the docking bay, the gift shop. Ooh. Right outside of Galaxy's Edge, like by like where you come out of.
Oh, like Tatooine Traders?
Yeah,
Tatooine Traders. Yeah. I haven't noticed them in there, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm a late bloomer. I only got into Star Wars because they took away half of Hollywood Studios, and then this one made me watch the cartoons, and then next thing I know, I'm buying the novels and the comics.
Like, make me watch Supernatural.
There's no wrong way. There's no wrong way to get
changed my life.
My daughter's like an Ahsoka person, and that was her gateway.
I love Ahsoka.
You know what I mean?
Like that's her gateway.
Star Wars. Mm-hmm. That's her Star Wars, like that Clone Wars animated series, and like that was for me. It's the original trilogy. And I love everything, but that was my way in. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's no wrong way. There's no wrong way.
Seeing everybody's introduction, because you mentioned yours. Obviously, you were there in theaters and the originals. Lauren's is very recent. Your daughter's is the Clone Wars cartoon. Mine, I was there midnight premiere of The Phantom Menace I was 9 years old, and I was there, and I went to every midnight premiering show of this prequel trilogies, and so I think that's what makes Star Wars so great. Is there's so many different jumping on points for people that we connect to, but we all still at the very end of it come back together because it all ties together in a very beautiful way.
Yeah, and there's so many different levels of fandom with it too.
100%. And like, you were holding up the book, like the novels, the comics, even the theme park, like those stories are part of the official. It's something you don't really have in just about any other franchise.
Oh yeah.
Where, like a Marvel movie doesn't have to tie into the comic book. It's clearly inspired maybe or whatever, but it's not like you're continuing the story. Whereas Star Wars, all of this stuff is lore since Disney, at least in the Disney era. So like besides the movies, you have all this other stuff. And so, certainly as a creator that gets to add characters, like if you can see behind me, that's a cover, and some of those characters were ones that I created with Paolo Villanelli, the artist on Bounty Hunters, and I have some other stuff there.
Oh, that's so rad! Yes,
yeah, that's what I look at when I write. So it's just so cool that there's so many, little, like I kind of see it as a mosaic, and there are like all these little pieces of the mosaic, but you don't have to look at the whole thing. You can, if you're not interested in something, that's fine. You find there's plenty for everybody.
Right. You can be as deeply involved in it as you want. And I think that's what's really cool with Galaxy's Edge too, because like when I first went there 2019, I was just starting to watch the movies because I'd said to my oldest at the time, like we're watching Fireworks and Vader's on there and he's not doing anything for me emotionally. And I want that emotion at Disney. I am one of those Disney adults. And I was like, I guess we got to finally watch these movies. But I never understood Anakin's development or lack thereof until I watched Clone Wars, and that filled in the gap. So when I'm going to segue us into Smuggler's Run, because when I first went on that, I didn't know who Hondo Ohnaka was.
Hondo, yeah.
And then I watched the cartoons and was like, wait a minute, with the Leonardo DiCaprio one, like, I know that dude. I've seen him before.
He's a space pirate, all right?
He is. You want to tell us some stuff about Hondo Ohnaka and Smuggler's Run?
Yeah, Hondo, he's got the Pirate's Price, which is a junior set after the Star Wars Last Jedi. We've got Hondo telling stories about his encounters with Han Solo, Chewbacca, and the Millennium Falcon, explaining how Hondo got the Falcon. And just weeks, first of all, Han Solo, terrible, because my man is always losing the Millennium Falcon to somebody. All right, like worst owner ever. But just weeks after the Last Jedi,
animal or a child, it's just a ship.
It's his ship, yeah. But I mean, it went from Lando to Han to Lando again to
Dean would never lose
a junkyard to Rey, and it's just come on, man. But weeks after the Last Jedi, Chewie hits up Hondo, asks for his help to fix the Millennium Falcon, with it being old and customized. Hondo says that the parts will be hard to find. It'll take some time. However, Hondo works for a price. All right, that's just how he is, and so the price is always helpful. He's setting up his new business, Ohnaka Transport Solutions. The Falcon would be very beneficial to this. Chewie agrees to lend him the vessel for a while, and in return, Hondo fixes it up. Now, at the parks, guests can fly the Falcon to get some coaxium, earn some credits.
That's how you think it's going to go.
That's how you think. Yeah, usually you're just in debt to Hondo. Or you can
yelling
be the
at
shooter.
your son to punch it, Chewie, punch it.
I love being the pilot, of course, but I don't know about you guys. Like getting stuck, like how is the Smuggler's Run? I love this ride. I so unapologetic Smuggler's Run. So what is your relationship with it?
I think Star Tours is better. I don't know if that's a hot take.
I feel like it might be.
I mean, it's fun, but
they're both great. Yeah.
There's
no wrong answer there.
Star Tours is great, but
I will say this: the one minor negative I would say about Smuggler, because I do love it, and I for me even the best part is being in the Falcon that I saw as a 4-year-old. That is so.
Yeah, I think that's what does it for me.
Even down. I mean, obviously not from the A New Hope, but the porgs and this the
porgs
and things like that. Just all those little details. But I will say, obviously you want to be the pilot or co-pilot if you're. If you're like the engineer, it's you're
just smashing the button like
Yeah. But that being said, everyone who goes on it a gazillion times has had the chance to do everything. So it's not like and also like if there are times when I've gone by myself because I've been on the convention circuit or whatever, and I'm like, I can steal 6 hours, go for the afternoon or something. So in those cases, I'll go on the single line, and I'll end up as the engineer or gunner, So, but
you're yelling at some stupid kid who can't just come on, man, fly this dang thing. Like, what are you doing?
Also, you don't want to be the old guy who's like, move over, kid.
Hey, stupid! This is the Falcon. Do you know what you're flying right now? Put some respect on it.
I've only been the pilot once, and it was because I convinced my friend's kid that she wanted to push the buttons, and like my friend knew exactly what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh, if you push these buttons," and she's like, "Yeah, okay,
look at the shiny buttons."
Because my son never lets me do it. And like the first time he was like, I had my 2 youngest, like the first time we went on it, like it had just opened and they're the pilots. And like Logan couldn't reach to like go into hyperspeed. Like they shouldn't have let him if he can't go to hyperspeed, but
get your booster seat, dummy. Ugh.
I know. Well, fortunately he can reach it now. He's a little bit older. But so anybody who is waiting in that line, though, that line is hit or miss. It's usually not too bad. Rise of the Resistance is the one that's going to be the worst. But I will say, if you're waiting in line for Rise, a lot of the line is interactive. Like I think that they include a huge chunk of that in the wait. So it usually feels like it goes quicker. And the line too for Smugglers is not too bad. It can usually go down, and it's a cool line. And if you download the Disney Parks Play app, there's an interactive thing where you can like text with Hondo, and you're trying to find Resistance spies and stuff, so you can have fun with that.
You could. What about Doc
Oh, yeah.
Anders, Den of Antiques, Lauren.
Another time Hondo was on Batu was in your book where we go about so yeah, tell us a little bit about that comic book and how Doc got some of these items in his Den of Antiquities.
So much like Delilah's Black Spire book, there was like several things that were attached to like the grand opening of Galaxy's Edge, and we did the official comic tie-in. And so our focus was on Doc Onder's Den of Antiquities, which has actually become my favorite place there anyway, because it's
so
like
cool.
I love that
of
so much.
Every Easter egg you can think of. And that got me in trouble, actually, because the comic book is sort of structured around a framing story of a heist. And I needed several items from Doc Onder's store, and the one that they sort of knew that was going to be there is sort of the main thing is that black sword. It's like sort of like it looks almost like a broadsword that's on one of the walls. But then there was also the baby Sarlacc. There was a lightsaber, and then Will Sliney and I decided we're going to add something cool. I was not concerned with the fact that it wasn't actually in the store. But we designed a Kyber crystal statue that was loosely inspired by St. George versus the Dragon. And so it's this like Jedi with this like serpent. And that's actually I got to pick which characters I wanted to use. I knew excuse me. I knew I could do Han Solo and Chewie for the Sarlacc. But I was like, oh, who would I like to? I did a story with Greedo in that book. So I finally got to tell the Greedo story. And then for the statue was a Hondo story, and he was a lot of fun to write. But that statue did not actually exist. And then when the comic came out and when the park opened, all these fans were tweeting at me back when it was Twitter, and like, yeah, it was like, oh, we found Baby Sarlacc and we found the sword and but where is the statue? And I was like, oh my God, I don't know why I think Star Wars fans would be like,
because you're not thinking at the time, you're like, oh, this is fun. But now they're looking for every piece of evidence.
Yeah, so I ended up contacting like Marvel PR people. And I was like, what should I do? What should I do? And they're like, whatever you do, do not address it, do not say anything, do not point out But people kept looking. And like weeks are passing, I'm totally ignoring all these tweets. And then suddenly someone tagged me with a picture. It's in the store.
That's amazing.
Actually, yeah, I'm gonna, as I talk to you, I'm gonna try to Google it and like find the.
Changed lore in Galaxy's Edge, like
some prop master who's probably cursing my name worse than Will was, is like had to build it. And it's
and it's a pretty detailed like statue. Like it's pretty.
Yeah, it is.
So everyone's all happy, and there's like 3 people in the world who are just absolutely your mortal enemies, and you're just, I'm so sorry, guys.
But I think that's one of the cool things about Star Wars too. Like it's been around since 1977, and like all the things that have contributed. Like Star Wars is, yes, it's George Lucas's baby, but throughout your life, how many people impact you, and like that's what's gone on for so long. I mean, we're about to celebrate 50 years or something next year.
Next year, yeah, in LA. Like, gosh.
And how many people have influenced and changed, all these cool stories and lore and background and all these items that you have. Like there was backstories to all the items in the book. And when we met you at, I was going to say at Galaxy's Edge Richmond, at GalaxyCon Richmond, you told us a little bit about that story. And that's what I was like, oh, well, I need this book. And my son and I, read it and went to Doc Onders and checked stuff out. I am one of the, and then you're telling the story. And I was like, oh God, I have done that and walked around with the book. But it's fun. It makes it more interactive and fun. And you're in it and it's really cool. But yeah, so that book's a lot of fun. You even got Dr. Aphra in there. You got a lot of characters that are well known that are at Batu at different times. And so anybody who hasn't been, Doc Onder is an Ithorian. That's the hammerhead kind of looking aliens. He's been on Batu longer than Oga, and anyone who upsets him ends up on his dock list. It's not a list you want to be on, so make sure you behave while you are in there. It is a very small shop, so you're going to want to go at times where it's not super crowded, but go if you can and look around at everything because it is so cool. It's it's like looking at the Tree of Life at Animal Kingdom. Every time you're in there, you find things you didn't see before. So it's always worth stopping by when you're there. So when Savi and Doc actually collect items, because both of them are kind of collectors, Doc is more focused on black market treasures, whereas Savi wants more historic religious or spiritual items.
Interesting.
So-
Well, it takes us to Olga. Actually, speaking of, Olga's the boss in Batu at Black Spire. She can be fair. She's all business. But when she weeps, the economy weeps.
That's a quote from the book. You don't want to anger. Well, yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
She was dating a Wookiee. The Wookiee cheated on her, and she basically killed the Wookiee. And somebody's like, "Uh-oh, that's not good," because when she's upset, she's going to start charging all of us more. She's a gangster. That's what they do.
Thanks for nothing, Wookiees. She's a Blutopian who does not come out and about very often. She runs the spaceport and does not allow monkey lizards in there. Now, Anakin, Padme, and Thrawn all once visited the cantina in the Timothy Zahn novel, Thrawn Alliances. Highly recommend, by the way. It also takes place on Batu. Now, R3X, or DJ Rex, he's a DJ in there. You only get 45 minutes, though, folks. Just keep that in mind. You get 45 minutes. DJ Rex used to be known as RX-24 or Captain Rex, as he was part of the Star Tours, voiced by none other than Paul Rubens, aka Pee-wee Herman. He also voiced the character in Rebels. Eventually, Rex crash landed on Batu, and Mubo, who owns the Droid Depot, turned him into a DJ. Rubens did get to do the voice for him again for the Disney parks before passing, unfortunately, in 2023. There are marks supposedly on the walls from a fight Thrawn and Anakin got into in the cantina.
And if you're not a novel person, they did make these comic books too. And it's actually kind of fun because I have both of them. And so it's really fun to kind of, read. Obviously, I recommend reading the novel because you get more into it, but it is cool to read the comics as well.
And actually, some of the drinks are actually pretty much most of the drinks that are in there are actually in the Black Spire books.
I want to just talk about the Bloody Mary. They did change their menu not too long ago, maybe like 6 months ago. So if you order a Bloody Mary and you're like me who doesn't eat pork, it now has bacon in it and you no longer get your bloody Rancor bone. And in the book I'm reading, they're like, one of the guys is picking his teeth with a Rancor bone. I'm like, not anymore. He's not. Okay, I'm done now. I'm going to mute myself.
Right, well, hold on. We'll go continue. What kind of drinks? Because I remember you texting me specifically about this next drink that is the Angry Orchard.
Well, you had the Jedi mind trick, didn't you? I think you did. You pulled a Meg Ryan and said, I'll have what that person's having. And I think it was the Jedi mind trick.
Oh, that's right. I did, because I was panicking. I was like, oh my gosh. Because, you go in there, a beer, sure, you get your beer. But then I was like, oh my gosh, all these drinks are so great. This one's smoking. This one's doing that. Just give me that. And I did have that. And it's delicious. But there is cider, which is the Spice Runner, which is also in the book. Yes. And it's still available. It's a Gamorrean. There's the Gamorrean Ale, which is a sour beer. And then Lauren, what did they get wrong?
Oh, they said so the one thing that this book is 100% lying about, they called the ale cheap. The ale is not cheap in the cantina.
Maybe it is.
It goes up $1 every time I'm in there.
Oh,
but I do love the Bad Motivator IPA is my go-to. It's just a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Typically what we drink. Yeah, the Bad Motivator.
They do have a new hard cold brew, which is so good. I sucked that down so fast. They're like, do you want another? I'm like, I do not need more caffeine or liquor, but it was delicious. Cold brew
sticker right here, actually.
That's the cold brew that's in the Black Spire Outpost, and that you can get hard or not hard, and I love that one. I never get it with the alcohol. I feel like it's too sweet, but it's perfect without the alcohol.
I need to get it on Monday.
Both. You can get both.
Alcohol in, I guess.
I think it tastes like more Kahlua. It almost tastes like the coffee in Norway. Like I think it's a little too sweet, but I know some people do love it.
I'm down for that. Oh my God, the cat is beautiful. I would die for this cat
right
here.
The cat has a had to go to
cone of shame.
Oh, not
she's got like something on her lip that was infected, and so it's
beautiful. I would die for this.
Her brother's an ass. Who like her with, so
aren't all brothers asses?
They really are.
Especially hers. I have 2 cats, and he's definitely the bully.
That's just terrible. She has a nice drink at Oga's Cantina. Do you? Because I know you're a big beer guy, Ethan. Do you have anytime you go there? Do you have the specific drink that you like to get anytime you go there?
I would say I've tried a few. I would say the Jedi Mind Trick was probably my favorite.
My man.
I'm kind of a little bit of a beer snob, to be honest, and I didn't.
We are too. It's okay.
That said, there's plenty of good stuff, and I would have that bacon if we ever go together.
Yeah, you can have my bacon.
Oh, we absolutely, yeah. Now we'll have to, especially if we're at MegaCon again. we're gonna just
Yes.
hey, we'll be back. We'll return at X
We
time.
will return, and we'll see if it's still Rey and Kylo Ren or
Well,
the original trilogy.
one of the things they changed that I think is definitely a plus is they added the cheesy bread. So the menu, if you've been to one and not the other, they're slightly different. There's maybe like a beer or two that's different. The menu's slightly different, but they just recently added the cheesy bread, and that is phenomenal.
I did try the cheesy bread. It was good because I usually get Tabby and I had something, the Batu chips.
Oh, the Batu chips are good. It's like dried veggies, but that sauce that you dip it in is very yummy.
Yeah, really good.
So, good. If you haven't been, yes, like Matt said before, you only get 45 minutes. You're not guaranteed seating, so prepare for that. The reservations are not as difficult to get these days as they used to be.
However, they are terrible to get on May the 4th.
Oh, they're definitely hard to get on May the 4th. But
we have not had any luck over the last.
Well, there's also like going to be 10 of us, so that definitely makes it harder too. But beware of stormtroopers. If you get in there, they do sometimes suddenly appear. And it is just snacks and drinks, so prepare for that as well. And here's a fun fact. If you're outside the cantina, and let's say you're standing near the Millennium Falcon and you look at the cantina, it looks like Donald Duck. So it is a hidden Donald.
I didn't know this one.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that one, I
did not. Now, we got Savage.
I just want to, can I just mention one thing?
Of course you can.
So one of the things about Echoes of the Empire, this new series, which is essentially like the new Galaxy's Edge miniseries, is we tell the origin story of Olga.
Oh, cool.
Son of a gun. I'm in.
In that era, she was sort of making her stake in her claim, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to do that.
I was saving all that for the end. Now I can't wait. Nice.
Well, I was like, if you want to know more about Olga and the Cantina, it will be in.
Yes, and you never actually see her in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. You don't. Now, Savvy's, though. I have the Savvy's lightsaber. Oh, you can't see it over here, but the battery always happens to die. Fun fact, actually, we took Jackson Lansing to an emo Star Wars theme night, and Lauren's batteries died in her lightsaber. We went to Mos Eisley. And her lightsaber died right away. It was some Savvy's. So the big thing that we are preparing for Monday or today when this comes out is making sure our batteries are good.
It's on my to-do list still.
Did you build a lightsaber there at all yet?
No, I actually, and I know this looks like I'm just roving. I sort of am, but I'm obsessed with Mace Windu's lightsaber because that thing I showed you on the wall was actually from that first story I did. And the reason I'm just roving,
the man has been saving this up the whole night. He's getting, it's like a.
I don't know if I can see it. Yeah,
nice.
He's got a lightsaber tattoo. That's so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a Mace Windu lightsaber, and I'm pulling out. But what I did get from Doc Onders was the Mace Windu lightsaber, and so my wife rules by fear, and there's no way I could have done 2 expensive lightsabers. So
that's fair.
That is my.
I got lucky. For sure. I did build one. Mine is red. I did the red. I did all that, and it was very special because when if you don't know, these are expensive.
Towards the Sith. You gravitate towards the Sith.
I very much do.
Mine's
I got
green. I went with like Ahsoka because her original one was green.
Didn't have like purple or orange, so I just went red.
No, mine is. I got the like Truth and Justice hilt and everything. But the night before, my husband's like, "So what's so special about this like $200 lightsaber that you're doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Well, when I cut people in half, it immediately cauterizes the wound." My husband's never seen a Star Wars movie.
Like, all that fun stuff.
Wow.
He's seen the first 20 minutes of A New Hope because we were going to see the burlesque show. So the night before I put it on and he made fun of it for 20 minutes until he passed out.
He's special.
Well, I guess he might have grown up in like the dead period between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace where it just wasn't.
He had 2 older brothers. So I'm 42, he's 43. And so his brothers were 6 and 8 years older than him, and they were very into it. And he was like, "Oh, well, that's not cool. They also play Dungeons and Dragons, and that's not cool." So he never got into it then. He does support everything. I mean, he's picking the kids up from school Monday so I can stay at Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. So it's a win-win.
So we can stay at Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. That's right.
You want to keep him away from the Star Wars movies.
He's not a Disney annual pass holder or anything.
He does. He's very supportive. I'll give him that because he didn't make fun of us when we cosplayed at the convention, and he's always been super supportive.
Not to your face. He made fun of me.
Face. he can make fun of me he knows that, but like, yeah, to be fair, I know he was, but
You should have seen his face when my Laura claws showed up. He's like, really? You needed more Wolverine claws? I'm like, those are Laura's. Those aren't Wolverines. Well, they're Wolverines. They're not Logan's. Let me clarify that.
Yes. Now, Savvy's workshop, near there you can find the Trillion Wishing Tree, which has colorful ribbons on it. Those are wishes. When they fall off, the wishes come true. Savvy can read people really well. Believes in the Force, used to be friends with Lorisan Tanaka. If you don't know who that is, listen, right off the rip in The Force Awakens. And he actually once met Luke Skywalker. Now, yes, these cost like a pretty penny, like $250.
I don't know what they are now. Yeah, and you do not get a pass holder discount.
No, however, it was magical because there's a moment where you build your lightsaber, you get to choose the kyber crystal. It's in there.
You pick out everything.
And then, like, the moment where you just like all pick up and you ignite your lightsabers at once, it's just like a magical experience. Okay,
and you can bring one person in there with you.
At that point,
book it ahead. That does sell out.
It does. At that point, it's just.
I will say this. I think like there's, depending on how much money and time you have, because it really is two unique experiences. Because like the Savvy experience, like you're building your own. It's your personal. It's your taste. It's like the various elements that they put in, including the kyber crystal. Like it's your choice. Like you are the one making those decisions, and it's like you're a Jedi. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then there are people like me, or it's like, oh my god, that is a perfect replica of, say, like Kylo Ren's lightsaber, and it's like the detail is so amazing, and so like and it feels the heft that I have my purple blade over there. I'm not gonna and light it up, but it's like, so if you're like, I want to get that specific, like Darth Vader or Luke's or whoever it is,
you can put your crystal right in the middle there. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's a different experience. So it's like if you're just one of these purists who almost like wants to have a prop from the movie versus I want to be the Jedi and put it together myself. So in your imagination, like you're yourself in Star Wars. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. If you want to change the kyber crystal in your lightsaber that you did make, you can go to Doc Onders and buy different colors and change the kyber crystal. And I also want to mention, if you happen to be in Orlando and you really want to drop some money on a lightsaber, but not also on a ticket, I was about to say Downtown Disney. Disney Springs, our version of Downtown Disney, has 2 Star Wars shops, and they have been getting more lightsabers. What they'll have, I don't know exactly, but they do sell like the legit lightsabers
now. I know that.
Well, you don't know when anybody's listening to this, so they may not have it anymore.
Fair.
But there's one Star Wars shop in like the back of Disney Springs, and there's another one right next to the Marvel store that's near the orange parking garage. So you can still get a little bit of your Star Wars fix if you don't want to, drop some, because it's a lot of money for a one-day ticket, man.
It is. It really is. But you can get some blue milk, some green milk, whatever it is. But Lauren, we have 2 more spots and stops before we kind of wrap up.
Let's go.
So why don't you take us to Docking Bay 7?
Yeah, so Docking Bay 7, that's a great little spot that you can just mobile order your food on. They have great food. I really do like, have you tried is it like a lavender beer? I forget who it was. It was Concrete Beach Brewing, and then they closed. They were in Miami. They closed, and then I think it's what's the brewery now? Blue Point, I think. It's not bad. It's a lager, but it's like a lavender lager. It's actually pretty good. You can mobile order just a beer there, but you can also mobile order food. They have Tip Yip, which first appeared in Ben Burtt's 2001 book, Star Wars, The Galactic Phrase Book and Travel Guide. And that is something that the Ewoks may eat, and it translates to fowl. So they don't just eat stormtroopers. They also eat Tip Yip.
Good for them.
So it's like a domesticated hen or rooster. As of 2019... they had fried Andorian Tip Yip served at Galaxy's Edge, and it's a lot of fun. And they've even featured it in like The Mandalorian. And there's a bar where Din Djarin and Boba Fett meet with Bo-Katan in Chapter 6, and they mentioned Tip Yip. So it's a lot of fun. So here's some fun facts, though. If you look at top of the docking bay, you can see little cargo boxes. They say 77.
You showed me this last time, actually.
83. Yeah, I was like, back up further. And then you can see them. And obviously, those are the years that the OG trilogy came out.
Yeah.
So what Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo is it's an old hangar bay and a landing platform on Merchant Row, and this is connected to Black Spire Outpost, kind of. It's like just to the left of it. So it was food and cargo delivery shuttles that landed on top of the building, and then they would actually lower their supplies into the businesses below. So it's kind of like food trucks for Star Wars is how I viewed this. So rather than having a permanent restaurant, guest chefs could, stop on the planet and temporarily have kitchens to cook and serve the locals.
It's raw.
Obviously, that's not
You
actually how it is at Disney,
Bantha.
but that's the story behind it. Every single thing in Galaxy's Edge has a story. Honestly, every single thing in Disney. You just have to ask it or look it up or something. The milk stand is by the Thai, like past Oga's Cantina. That is run by an Aqualish farmer named Bubo Yamba, and he spends a lot of time with his banthas. That's not too far from Droid Depot, which you can construct your own little droid. You can also buy battle droids, a chopper, an R2, a C3PO, small, big. You can buy dishes that have droids on them. That's a cute little thing. I've never built my own droid. Have either of y'all done that?
No.
No.
I can 3D print it. It's my personality right now. I'm sorry.
So our last spot we're going to talk about before we have like 2 fun facts to end this amazing episode with. So the spires, so Black Spire Outpost. The spires are actually petrified trees. However, the Black Spire has an urban legend behind it. Years ago, a beast called Naklor attacked at night, which meant that those they would go out and get their milk at night and they would get harmed. So they were going to get the milk, they get attacked at night, and that made like the milk in the area dry up. So a local matriarch took matters into her own hands, and she hit the Naklor so hard that it burned him to a cinder where he stood, and that became a black husk or a black spire. So the black spire was the only thing left of this monster. However, the legend says that it still comes out at night sometimes. Ronto Roosters is owned by Bakar, who goes by Butcher. It is a local favorite that is in the Black Spire Outpost, and that is also where you can get the cold brew Matt mentioned. The Tordarian is there making some fun little cute toys. You can play like Sabak over there. Like sometimes there's a cast member over there playing the card game with you. And they have a lot of patience because they've played with like my 6-year-old at the time. You can see a Loth cat. There's some other kind of creatures in there. I feel like the Harry Potter store in Diagon Alley, they have like all the magical creatures. I feel like you kind of have that a little bit in Black Spire Outpost too.
I've got the Loth cat here that I'll be bringing to Lauren.
And you can get a Loth cat in the cantina. But the crappy thing about that, though, is you have to buy a non-alcoholic drink and then spend $30 on the Loth cat.
Oh.
Or you can 3D print one.
3D print. So, I can just make it for you.
Matt, you want to wrap up with some? We got 2 cool fun facts.
A couple fun facts before we wrap up. Each trash can and recycling bin inside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge has the number 326-3827 on it. This number is a hidden reference to the sector number where Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Leia Organa were tossed into the trash compactor onto the Death Star. Got the Lego set over.
And there is a little one inside Doc Onders too.
In Florida, the X-Wing can be found near the merchandise stands by the Rise of Resistance, made a cameo in The Mandalorian before being sent to Florida. Now, Echoes of the Empire by our friend here, Ethan, is a current Galaxy's Edge comic run out now. And so what can you kind of tell us about Echoes of the Empire?
It's essentially set in 3 time periods, which is going to mirror the park a little bit, I guess, because there's, it's sort of Oga talking to Rey, I guess. Hopefully that's not a spoiler. Relaying what happened years ago kind of thing. And so what happened years ago, I'm going to keep under my hat.
Yes, please. We do not want you getting in any sort of trouble here.
Nor do we want spoilers.
No,
was more fun about spoilers.
But I will say that it tells the story of why Luke and Leia are there, why Darth Vader arrives, and then why years later they return with Han Solo. Because that's, it's essentially 2 time periods now.
Yeah.
But I will keep the details under my hat.
That is exciting. How many issues do we get of Echoes of the Empire?
5 issues, and the first issue came out last week, so it's fresh in comic book stores. Nice. And I always recommend going to comic book stores because it's just incredible places in your community. And so like basically, you can ask them to reserve copies for you going forward. And that way
best way for anybody out there who might not know is pre-ordering a comic book is the best way for your really to measure the metrics to really give comic books the boost that they need right now, go ahead and get that in your pull box. And it is truly incredible. And you kind of become like the guy who gets to build the lore on these parks. So what does that mean to you? Yeah. 4-year-old
it's incredible. It's incredible. For the Halcyon Legacy, which was the one for the Halcyon was the Galactic Cruiser, which was Star Cruiser, which was the you basically go for 2 days and you live life on a Star Wars spaceship, and it was a transformative experience there were a lot of people who wrote it like multiple times, and paid like they weren't
Like
like all Christians or
$5,000 for
whatever.
2 days. Yeah.
Like they were really, and they found this spiritual connection with each other to the point where they every year they have HalseyCon, and that's like a fan run convention. And I was a guest of honor the last one, and it was just people from just around the country, in some cases around the world, who just had this bond. Like they live this experience together, and they meet like every year. They stay in touch. They're really, really into it, and like they were really cool to me. And I met friends there that I didn't know before. They were like, just as an example, they people use that book, The Halcyon Legacy, as almost like a guide, and like so they would have it in the cabins like when you came. But there was like, as an example, there was one scene where Anakin is fighting Ventress and the lightsaber battle, and like one of the lightsabers strikes the wall, and there's like scorch mark, and they actually put those scorch marks in the ship, like when you would go visit it. So people were taking photos, and like people showed me photos of it, and they matched. It's like almost
That's surreal.
I heard it was amazing.
So yeah, it's so weird. And as a gift, one of my friends, Andrew, who I met at the convention, he had gotten these decals of the scorch marks, like in the same shape.
Oh, that's cool.
On my wall, but I could if I have them.
Yeah, that's insane. Like to think about, that moment. That's so you think about, like, that's your core memory, your canon event.
Yeah.
Is you with your dad at 4 years old seeing Star Wars, and now here you are building the lore for the Star Wars universe, which is just so cool. You're living the dream. You really are. Like, that is one of the coolest things ever.
I mean, I'm grateful to it. That's why it's kind of so much of my comic career is now Star Wars. It's like my favorite, and getting to be a part of the small part of that is amazing.
And there's something really out there for everybody. It doesn't have to be the prequels, the original, the Clone War, whatever it is. There's, like we talked about, there's really a cool jumping on point, and it all kind of connects back to that central moment where, Luke finds Leia and Han, and they're all in the trash compactor, and it really builds from like that whole original trilogy, which is just so cool. And I love hearing everybody's jumping on points, and I just fans who get to continue this, like yourself, are what make this universe so much fun, and one of the reasons why I love Star Wars so much.
Absolutely. And Ahsoka is probably one of the best jumping on points.
Yeah, I mean, there really is. So now with it's about to be summer. We got conventions for the rest of the year. I know we just saw you at MegaCon, but where are people going to be able to find you kind of for the next few months?
I'm going to be in MCM London. I haven't confirmed some of the others, but I'll definitely be at New York Comic Con. Hoping to be at a few Galaxy Cons, including Raleigh, which is the same weekend as San Diego. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see beyond that. Probably Columbus as well, GalaxyCon Columbus.
Those are
hoping to be at Rose City again. That was great last year, and Fan Expo Canada, which is in Toronto. Oh, I should be at the Montreal one as well.
Canada's always a great time.
There. Yeah, my daughter goes to school.
Oh, that's so cool. So it's kind of like a chance to get to connect with your daughter and see all that kind of stuff.
Well, we're actually moving her out of her apartment, moving her out of her college apartment because she's finishing up. So
amazing. I got to go to, growing up in Massachusetts, we very familiar with Montreal, got to go up there a lot. So
yeah. You were 18 when you rolled in?
There? Of course, every 18-year-old leaves and goes up there. If you're in New England,
the drinking age. Okay.
Yes, of course. You go up there for one reason. It's because the laws are different. But that's exciting that your daughter went up there, and again, you get to go to all these cool conventions and do a lot of cool stuff. So everybody out there, if you haven't gotten to read, the Galaxy's Edge 5 issues, or just any of these Star Wars books that really tie into Galaxy's Edge, but you're a fan of Galaxy's Edge and that's why you're here, please, by all means, check out Ethan's work. Come find him at a convention. He really, first of all, he gets to rock the Roosevelts as well. No big deal. So, he's got great taste in clothes, but also he's killing it in the comic book world. And for that, Ethan, thank you for building the
And he
lore
likes
for
good
some of
beer.
He does. He also
That's
does.
a bonus
Yeah,
on our
I
show.
look forward to drinking with both of you, MegaCon. Maybe before, but
Well,
definitely
if
on MegaCon.
everything falls into place, we could potentially sooner at New York. I know it's a home show for you, but if their opportunity presents itself, hopefully we'll
We
be
have
too.
beer in New York, so
Oh, yeah.
They do. I've got Daredevil KCBC in my fridge right now, for
nice.
example.
Well, there's an other
just
half
one
in
of the many.
Manhattan now, isn't there? I've been to
Yes,
2
there
other
is.
halves in Brooklyn, but I haven't been to the one in
Love
Manhattan.
it. You walk the walk. I love that.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah. I'll take you to Finback too. Finback's probably my
I
favorite.
love
I've-
Finback.
I've wanted to go there. I've never been there, but I've had their beer. It's really
I've
good.
been there, and they made my 10-year-old at the time a mocktail, and she was bouncing off the walls. They have so
I
much
remember you
sugar in
telling me
those
this.
things. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we did a mom-daughter trip. I only dragged her to like 2 breweries, I promise.
Only 2. Only 2. Yeah, our kids were like, "Oh, how many breweries are going to now?" It's like, don't worry about it. But Ethan, where can people find you on social media if they want to check out what is happening in your life and world?
So I'm just looking this up now. So I'm Ethan J. Sachs on Instagram and ethansachs.bluesky.social.
Social media's gotten just exhausting, first of all, everybody. Yeah. But go out there, follow him, find out where he is. Lauren, do you have any final thoughts as we kind of wrap up our first Star Wars of the month?
Yes. So next week we'll be deep diving Darth Maul. We did a little bit recently and covered the first 2 episodes. We're going to be covering the finale, and we're going to deep dive into a bunch of his lore from the sequel trilogies all the way through. We're going to talk about the witches and all that stuff, and we're going to talk about Savage and all sorts of fun stuff. So we're going to go into all that. And then our last 2 episodes for this month, we're going to do a pre-show for The Mandalorian and Grogu, which means we're going to rewatch the 3rd season. We're going to recap that. I'm going to rewatch the 3rd season. I feel like I saw Matt's glow go out of his face.
I have things I have to watch.
But we're going to talk a little bit about different characters that'll be in the movie that you may not be aware of or you've just kind of forgotten. And then, of course, post-show, we're just going to bullshit about the movie and whether we liked it, loved it, hated it. I don't imagine hating it, but I'm sure a lot of people will. A lot of people have already decided they're going to hate it. I'm excited.
Star Wars, they've made up their minds.
Oh, and if you're going to Galaxy's Edge when this movie comes out, they will be putting Mando and Grogu on Smuggler's Run.
Who cares about them? We're going to be there when, who cares about Mando and Grogu? If you're there on May the 4th, guess who we are? There. They're cool lightsabers.
If I remember to change the battery in mine. It's on my to-do list.
Mine's dead too. Don't worry. That's why there's no noise when I... So we'll be there May the 4th. We'll be there for Cinco de Mayo. I'll be drinking an avocado margarita at Epcot tomorrow when this drops. Come find us. We'll be in just look for tall dude, short woman. We'll be there.
And tall woman. Your wife will be with us.
That's true. My wife is 6 feet tall. So yes. 2 tall people and
me.
Rest of everybody else is regular size. Ethan, thank you so much for hanging out, man. Thank you so much, and everybody else.
I tell you, next time I'm bringing a beer. I feel totally left out, but
it's okay because next time we're going to be drinking beers together. I really hope so, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a blood oath.
It is. I'm in Virginia, you're in New York, so it's not even that far away. We don't have to have a convention for a reason. So we'll make up a reason, a random Star Wars day if we have to. But
100%.
Thank you so much. And everybody else, find us social media by the name every Monday, new episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. May the Force be with you always.